Long before skyscrapers or asphalt, ancient planners etched vast geometric cities into the earth. These are the valley grids, and their existence shatters our timeline of urban development. By the end of this, you will be able to look at any ancient landscape and spot the hidden logic of its design. How did people without modern tools achieve such staggering precision? And what forgotten knowledge allowed them to align entire communities with the stars? What does a perfectly straight line, drawn thousands of years ago, tell you about the people who stood here first? A ghost city emerging from the dust. That is how one archaeologist described the moment LIDAR technology peeled back the modern landscape. From the air, what looked like random ridges and faint tracks on the ground transformed into something entirely different. Advanced laser scanning revealed vast networks of lines forming perfect right angles and parallel streets, stretching for kilometers across remote valleys. These were not natural formations, they were the footprints of a planned urban environment, a geometric blueprint etched into the earth on a scale that defied all previous assumptions. Experts like Dr. Elena Vance recall the sheer disbelief, the shock of finding such sophisticated city planning in areas where researchers had only ever expected to find evidence of simple farming villages. Here were the remains of coordinated intersections and aligned avenues, a deliberate layout that spoke of a central vision. In the Andes, for example, these grids do not just follow the lay of the land. They are oriented toward specific stars and solar events, weaving a deep understanding of astronomy directly into the fabric of daily life. So how could ancient peoples, without theodolites or drafting software, possibly achieve this staggering precision? The answer lies in the ingenious methods they used to translate a grand vision from mind to earth. The night sky itself was their ultimate surveying tool. Long before magnetic compasses, ancient planners used the predictable movements of the sun, moon, and stars to lay out their geometric cities with breathtaking accuracy. They would track the rising and setting points of the sun at the solstices and equinoxes, carving permanent sightlines into the landscape. These celestial pathways became the foundational axes for their entire grid, ensuring that main avenues ran true east-west or aligned with significant solar events. As archaeoastronomer Dr. Liam Chen explains, these grids are not just random lines, they are a terrestrial mirror of the heavens, embedding celestial cycles directly into the rhythm of daily life. In one profound example, a grid in the Mesa Verde region aligns precisely with the moon's minor standstill, an event that occurs only once every 18.6 years. This was not merely for show, it transformed the entire city into a colossal calendar, dictating the timing for community gatherings, planting seasons, and ceremonial observances. The very streets you walked told you what time of year it was and what needed to be done next. This deep integration of cosmos and community fostered a sustainable way of life, one intrinsically harmonized with natural rhythms. But how did they transfer these grand celestial blueprints down to the ground with such clean, sharp lines? The answer lies in a suite of surprisingly simple yet brilliant tools. A gnomon is simply a stick placed upright in the ground, yet in the hands of a skilled planner, it became a powerful astronomical instrument. By carefully marking the tip of its shadow at different times of day, they could trace a perfect east-west line. Combine this with a long, tightly stretched cord soaked in natural pigment to snap a straight guideline onto the Earth, and you have the beginnings of a city grid. These were not complex machines, but brilliant applications of basic physics. A water level, just a trough of water, could establish a level plain over uneven ground, allowing builders to terrace slopes and maintain consistent grades for their roadways. Engineering historian Maria Torres notes that they turned everyday objects into precision instruments, achieving accuracies that rival modern laser levels in some cases. Field experiments using replicas of these simple tools have successfully recreated grid patterns that are nearly identical to the ancient ones, proving their incredible effectiveness. This hands-on process was a communal effort. It required a shared understanding of standardized units, perhaps based on the average human pace or a specific arm's length, and a collective focus on a single, orderly vision. This shared geometric knowledge did more than just plot out streets. It wove a sense of common purpose and structured cooperation directly into the foundation of the community, suggesting a society that deeply valued collective intelligence and efficient organization. So what kind of society emerges from such a deliberate and harmonious design? And how did this shared architectural language shape their daily lives and cultural identity? The grid was far more than a map, it was a mirror of their world. Geometry was the invisible framework that held these societies together. In a world governed by geometric order, the layout of a city was far more than a practical map. It was a powerful statement of social harmony, a physical manifestation of how the community saw itself and organized its life. These grids often allocated land into equal plots for families, a system designed to ensure fairness in agriculture and housing from the very beginning. This equitable distribution of resources was a profound innovation, preemptively reducing potential conflicts over land and fostering a foundational sense of unity. As anthropologist Dr. Ben Carter notes, geometry was their language of equality and organization. This principle extended beyond individual plots to the very heart of the city. Central plazas served as multipurpose hubs, the clear focal points for governance, trade, and public ceremonies. This design intentionally wove the social, political, and spiritual threads of the community into a single, cohesive fabric. In the Indus Valley, for example, we see this concept taken to another level of social engineering. The urban grids there often correlated with a form of zoning, where distinct sections were designated for artisans, leaders, and farmers. This promoted specialized labor and economic efficiency, but it also physically mapped the social structure onto the landscape. Yet, even within this organization, there was a deeper spiritual dimension at play. Sacred geometries like mandalas or spirals were frequently integrated into public spaces and building layouts. These patterns were not merely decorative. They reflected a cosmic worldview, connecting the daily lives of the people to their spiritual beliefs and the larger order of the universe. By embedding this multi-layered order directly into their environment, these societies actively cultivated stability and a powerful collective identity. The city itself became a teacher, its streets and plazas constantly reinforcing the values of cooperation, fairness, and shared purpose. But such an ambitious vision required more than just careful planning. How did they translate these intricate blueprints into physical reality, building structures that have endured for centuries, even millennia? The real genius of these geometric cities is not just in their design, but in their endurance. Teams of builders transformed the very ground beneath their feet, quarrying local stone and earth to form raised platforms, canals, and pathways that have withstood centuries of erosion and climate shifts. One of their most effective techniques was rammed earth, a process of compressing layers of soil and gravel into solid, monolithic walls that provided incredibly sturdy foundations. To mark the boundaries of their vast grids, they set stone alignments with such precision that many remain perfectly straight today, all without a single drop of mortar. Civil engineer Anya Sharma remarks that their use of natural materials in load-bearing structures shows an intuitive grasp of geology and physics that we are only now fully appreciating. They understood which local clays would bind best, which stones could bear the most weight, and how to work in harmony with the landscape rather than against it. This deep material wisdom is visible in wonders like the Nazca lines in Peru, where creators meticulously removed dark surface stones to reveal a lighter subsoil beneath, creating massive, durable patterns that have survived for over 1,000 years. But perhaps their most forward-thinking innovation was hidden beneath the surface. Within the geometric grids, builders strategically integrated sophisticated drainage channels. These carefully sloped conduits managed water flow from seasonal rains, preventing flooding in plazas and residential areas while simultaneously directing precious water to support agriculture. This was sustainable engineering at its finest, minimizing environmental impact while maximizing the city's longevity. So how does this practical, resilient approach to city building compare to the urban plans of other ancient cultures? The chaotic, winding lanes of a medieval European town tell a story of slow, organic growth. They meander around old landmarks following forgotten paths, a stark contrast to the deliberate, almost mathematical order of the valley grids. This is the fundamental divide in urban history. One city grows like a living forest, twisting and turning over time. The other is planted all at once from a single, powerful blueprint. The valley grids represent a vision executed with startling foresight, a form of centralized planning that predates even the famous gridiron layouts of ancient Greek cities like Miletus by centuries. Urban historian Professor Kenji Tanaka observes that while the Romans are famed for their grids, these valley examples show a purer form of geometric idealism, untainted by later imperial influences. This purity is visible in their relationship with the land itself. Unlike later grids that often flatten the earth to suit the plan, the valley grids demonstrate an advanced understanding of topography. Their lines frequently follow natural contour lines, creating terraced neighborhoods and roadways that worked in harmony with the hills rather than fighting against them. This required a level of terrain reading that was nothing short of masterful. We see a similar distinction when looking east to Mesopotamia. In great cities like you find geometric order, but it was typically centered on monumental temple complexes and palaces, emphasizing the power of the elite and the gods. The valley grids, however, seem to have prioritized a different kind of order. Their geometry often emphasized residential equity and the fair distribution of agricultural land, suggesting a society that valued communal access to resources from its very foundation. This unique blend of high idealism and down-to-earth practicality presents a compelling puzzle. What was the ultimate purpose behind investing such immense effort into these elaborate designs? So what was the true purpose of these sprawling geometric cities? Were they colossal farms, celestial temples, or something else entirely? This question lies at the heart of a fascinating academic debate, with different theories pointing to practical needs, spiritual beliefs, or a powerful fusion of both. One compelling theory views the grids as immense astronomical calendars. Their precise alignments could have marked the solstices and equinoxes, providing a reliable schedule for planting and harvesting that was literally written into the landscape. Another perspective suggests these patterns were symbolic representations of cosmic order, physical blueprints meant to reflect the harmony of the heavens and, in doing so, legitimize the authority of the community's leaders. Archaeologist Dr. Sophia Reyes offers a compelling synthesis, arguing that the grids likely evolved from utilitarian roots into profound ideological statements, mirroring society's own growing complexity. We see this duality in the American Southwest, where grids are meticulously aligned with precious water sources to support sophisticated irrigation. Yet the same geometric patterns are also found at the heart of important ritual sites. Other hypotheses explore functions like defense, where the orderly layout could have enabled a community to mobilize quickly in response to a threat, or trade, by standardizing routes to make movement and commerce more efficient for merchants. This incredible diversity of potential functions underscores the grid's remarkable adaptability, a single architectural language molded to meet the unique environmental and social needs of each place. But how do we move beyond these theories to find more concrete answers? The key lies in a quiet revolution happening in labs and research centers around the world, where digital tools are allowing us to see these ancient landscapes with entirely new eyes. A powerful digital lens is now transforming those faded lines on a map into living, breathing worlds. Using technologies like LIDAR and ground-penetrating radar, archaeologists can peel back layers of time without ever touching a trowel. They create hyper-accurate three-dimensional models of these ancient grids, allowing researchers to virtually walk the same streets, stand in the same plazas, and experience the spatial logic of a city that has been silent for a millennium. Digital archaeologist Dr. Alex Foster explains that we are not just seeing lines on a map anymore. We are simulating how people lived and moved within these geometric frameworks. This is more than reconstruction. It is a dynamic laboratory for testing old theories and discovering entirely new ones. In one compelling case study of the Bolivian grids, researchers used computational fluid dynamics within their 3D models to make a remarkable discovery. They found that the specific width and orientation of certain alleyways were designed to act as wind channels. These corridors would funnel cool evening breezes through the entire settlement, creating a natural and highly efficient ventilation system that reduced the need for artificial shelters. This was passive climate control engineered 1,500 years ago. Geographic Information Systems, or GIS, allow scientists to overlay these virtual cities with environmental data, revealing how the grids masterfully optimized sun exposure for warmth in winter, provided shade in summer, and directed every drop of rainwater through sophisticated drainage channels to support agriculture. The models even reveal patterns invisible to the human eye standing on the ground, such as how a main avenue might align perfectly with the peak of a distant, sacred mountain, weaving the entire spiritual landscape into the city's daily rhythm. By bridging the deep past with cutting-edge present, these tools offer unprecedented insight. They show us that these grids were not just about order for order's sake. They were about creating a deeply sustainable and harmonious relationship between the community, the climate, and the cosmos. This raises a profound and urgent question for our own time. What can these ancient blueprints, born from a necessity to survive and thrive in balance with nature, teach us about designing the sustainable cities of our future? The same principles that guided these ancient builders are now being rediscovered by modern urban planners seeking answers to our own climate challenges. The valley grids demonstrate a profound mastery of passive solar design, where entire cities were oriented to maximize the warmth of the winter sun while providing natural shade during the intense heat of summer. This simple, intelligent placement drastically reduced the need for artificial heating and cooling, a concept we are only now implementing with advanced materials and technology. Their deep integration with natural hydrology is another lesson in resilience. Instead of channeling rainwater away with pipes and concrete, they used gentle swalls and retention basins to capture every drop, replenishing the groundwater and preventing erosion. This ancient approach to water management directly inspires today's green infrastructure, which uses permeable pavements and rain gardens to combat the widespread flooding that plagues so many modern cities. Urban planner Lena Kowalski reflects that these ancients mastered resilience. Their grids worked with the land, not against it, a lesson we are urgently relearning in the face of climate change. We can see this philosophy echoed in modern experiments like Barcelona's superblocks, where neighborhood grids are redesigned to prioritize pedestrian-friendly zones and communal plazas over car traffic, reviving the human-scale social interaction that was central to the ancient plans. The original grids promoted walkability simply through their intimate scale, ensuring that daily needs were within a short journey, fostering countless opportunities for spontaneous meetings and community bonding. This stands in stark contrast to the car-centric sprawl of the 20th century, which often isolated people and fragmented the social fabric. By looking back and adopting these time-tested strategies, we are not simply copying old blueprints. We are reclaiming a forgotten wisdom about how to create cities that are not only more livable and eco-friendly, but that actively nurture the human spirit. So what specific environmental pressures prompted the creation of these brilliant geometric designs in the first place? The land itself was the first and most demanding architect. In the jagged embrace of the Andes, where steep slopes defied conventional building, planners did not fight the mountains, they listened to them. Their grids meticulously followed the natural contour lines, weaving across the landscape like topographic fingerprints. This was not a compromise, but a masterstroke of environmental engineering. By tracing these curves, they created terraced neighborhoods and roadways that dramatically reduced soil erosion, while the gentle, consistent slope allowed gravity to do the hard work. It channeled precious rainwater through a network of stone-lined canals, delivering it efficiently from the high terraces down to the community's central reservoirs and agricultural plots. In stark contrast, the grids laid across wide, flat valleys could breathe and expand. Here, planners executed vast, symmetrical blocks that made navigation intuitive and allocated farming land with geometric fairness. Geographer Dr. Omar Patel observes that these were not rigid templates but dynamic systems molded by the landscape, showcasing a deep environmental intelligence. Every site was chosen with a clear-eyed purpose, prioritizing access to arable land, reliable fresh water, and naturally defensible positions. A brilliant example comes from the coastal valleys of Peru, where grids were ingeniously adapted to the rhythm of the ocean. There, planners incorporated their understanding of tidal patterns directly into the town layout, designing channels and storage pools that supported thriving fishing communities by managing the daily ebb and flow of seawater. This incredible adaptability highlights a profoundly pragmatic approach. They viewed the environment not as an obstacle to be conquered, but as a partner in design. But how did these planners, working across such diverse and challenging terrain, achieve such consistent and precise geometric forms? The answer lies not just in the land, but in the numbers. These geometric blueprints were built upon a hidden language of numbers. Ancient planners infused their grids with mathematical principles like the golden mean and Pythagorean triangles, creating spaces that were not only functional but felt instinctively harmonious to the human eye. These precise ratios govern the proportions of plazas, the width of streets, and the layout of entire residential blocks. They likely used basic arithmetic and geometry to calculate land areas and divide plots with remarkable fairness, ensuring each family had an equitable share. Evidence from sites across the Americas points to the use of a standardized unit of measurement, a consistent arm's length or pace that allowed teams to replicate the same design across vast distances. Mathematician Dr. Hannah Lee observes that the recurrence of specific ratios suggests a shared mathematical language, possibly passed through oral traditions or apprenticeships. In Mexico, for example, we find grids based on a 1:2 rectangle ratio, a proportion that perfectly optimizes space for both buildings and shared courtyards. This was not random. These embedded proportions may have encoded deep cultural values directly into the physical environment, using mathematical harmony to visually express ideals of balance, equality, or social structure. This mathematical rigor provided a stable, predictable framework for daily life, a rhythm of order that everyone understood. Within this orderly framework, commerce could flourish. The grid's standardized layout made navigation simple and predictable for everyone, from local farmers to traveling merchants. Wide, straight avenues allowed for the easy flow of goods, while central plazas served as natural marketplaces where trade was centralized and efficient. This geometric clarity did more than just facilitate movement. It built trust and enabled a thriving economic network to take root. The very streets of these ancient cities were engineered for commerce, their straight lines carving efficient trade routes through challenging landscapes. By aligning their geometric grids with natural river valleys and mountain passes, planners created predictable, safe highways for merchants. They could transport delicate pottery, precious textiles, and bulk foodstuffs with a new level of speed and reliability. This standardized access was an economic revolution. No longer did a trader need to navigate a confusing maze of trails, a journey that could take weeks. Now, a merchant from the coast knew exactly how long it would take to reach the highlands, allowing for precise planning and far more ambitious business ventures. Economic historian Dr. Ricardo Mendez calls these grids early prototypes of commercial districts, designed to minimize transaction costs and maximize exchange. At the heart of this system were the central plazas, the vibrant marketplaces where the grid's logic truly came to life. Their open, geometric layouts allowed for the easy organization of vendor stalls and the smooth flow of crowds, transforming chaotic barter into orderly trade fairs. In the Andes, we see this system operating on a grand scale. Grids physically connected highland and coastal zones, creating a direct pathway for communities to exchange dried seafood for mountain resources like obsidian and wool. This was more than just convenience. It was a deliberate strategy of economic integration. The grid's predictability encouraged the formation of long-distance trade networks, weaving together once isolated regions into a single, interdependent economy. This reliable flow of goods and ideas directly supported population growth, as communities could specialize in what they produced best and trade for everything else they needed. But this incredible economic machine was powered by more than just practical need. What deeper spiritual beliefs were embedded within these very same geometric patterns, giving sacred meaning to the lines that also guided merchants and markets? The straight lines of commerce and the sacred circles of ceremony were two sides of the same coin. Many of these ancient grids incorporated profound cosmological symbols directly into their urban form, transforming the entire settlement into a living, breathing spiritual diagram. Plazas were perfect circles representing the eternal cycle of life, while residential blocks formed squares symbolizing the four corners of the earth. Spirals etched into pathways or the layout of central temples mirrored the swirling galaxies above. These were not mere decorations. They were a physical language for understanding humanity's place within the cosmos, a sacred geometry that infused every daily activity with deeper meaning. Theologian Dr. Aisha Bello explains that for these cultures, geometry was a bridge to the gods, making the urban landscape a participatory ritual. You were not just walking down a street, you were tracing a sacred path. In Mesoamerica, we find entire urban grids laid out as terrestrial mirrors of constellations. The positions of important pyramids and major avenues corresponded precisely with the stars of Orion or the Pleiades, turning the city itself into a colossal star map where people lived their entire lives within a celestial blueprint. This spiritual intent was woven into the very orientation of the streets. The four cardinal directions were rarely just practical markers. Each axis often corresponded to a specific deity, a fundamental element, or a spiritual concept. An east-west avenue might be dedicated to the sun's journey, while a north-south road honored the earth or ancestral spirits. This meant that a simple walk to the market was also a symbolic journey through a spiritually charged landscape, infusing mundane movements with profound significance. This seamless integration of belief and practicality created a deeply enriched community life, where the spiritual and the earthly were inseparable. But such a profound investment in shaping the landscape had to withstand the test of time. How did these meticulously planned cities hold up against the relentless forces of nature, from shifting climate patterns to the slow creep of erosion? The longevity of these geometric marvels was not an accident, but a direct result of their creators' deep environmental wisdom. Their geometric cities were living systems engineered to breathe with the climate. In wind-scoured valleys, the planners did not build walls. They built with the wind itself, carefully aligning entire blocks of buildings to act as massive windbreaks. These strategic orientations funneled harsh gusts away from living quarters and into open plazas, creating pockets of calm air for daily life. In the blistering heat of the desert, the same principle of intelligent orientation provided relief. Main avenues were laid out to capture the prevailing breezes for natural ventilation, while the width of streets and the height of buildings were calculated to cast long, cooling shadows during the hottest parts of the day. This was not just about comfort, it was a sophisticated form of resource conservation, drastically reducing the need for energy-intensive heating or cooling. Climate scientist Dr. Felix Weber observes that these ancients were master adapters. Their grids are archives of survival strategies in volatile environments. This adaptability was built into the very infrastructure. They designed water channels with movable stone gates or woven barriers, allowing communities to quickly redirect water during sudden floods or to conserve every drop during a prolonged drought. On the fringes of the Sahara, entire grids were constructed on elevated platforms to avoid being buried by shifting sand dunes. In monsoon-prone regions, they built raised walkways of packed earth and stone, ensuring that even during the heaviest seasonal rains, people and goods could move through the city on dry ground. But their innovation went beyond stone and earth. They integrated the living world directly into their geometric plans. They planted rows of native trees along major avenues, not for decoration, but for practical shade and to anchor the soil with their deep root systems, preventing erosion. In plaza gardens, they cultivated specific shrubs and grasses that helped to filter rainwater and stabilize the ground. This was green urbanism over 1,000 years before the term was ever coined. The entire city functioned as a single, resilient organism, proactively responding to environmental shifts rather than simply reacting to disasters. This profound capacity to adapt raises a deeper question about the people behind the plans. What kind of social organization was necessary to not only conceive of such resilient systems, but to build them and maintain them for generations? The sheer scale of these geometric cities points to a society built on collective action. Constructing kilometers of perfectly aligned streets and terraces was not the work of a few families, but of a community united by a shared vision. This required a sophisticated social organization, one capable of mobilizing large work parties for extended periods. Evidence from construction sites suggests this labor was not a grim burden. archaeologists find remnants of large-scale feastings alongside the foundations of walls and plazas. These were likely communal events, turning back breaking work into social gatherings that strengthened bonds and reinforced a collective identity. Sociologist Dr. Chloe Kim observes that the grid is a physical manifestation of social contracts, revealing how power was distributed and exercised. The design of the grid itself tells us who these people were. In some Andean communities, the equal size of residential plots speaks to a powerful focus on equity, suggesting a society that valued fairness from the ground up. Yet in other grids we see a different story. Larger, more centrally located plots, sometimes with access to better views or resources, hint at emerging social hierarchies and elite privileges. This variation shows that the grid was a flexible tool. It could enforce an egalitarian ideal or physically map a stratified social order onto the landscape. The central plazas were the heart of this social engine. These vast, open spaces, deliberately placed at the city's core, were designed for everyone. They hosted the markets, the ceremonies, and the daily interactions that wove the community together, ensuring that despite any differences in status, there was a common ground for all. This intricate social machinery, capable of such coordinated effort, leaves us with a final, compelling mystery. What ultimately happened to these meticulously planned communities, and what secrets do their abandoned grids still hold? Even with our advanced tools, the valley grids guard their deepest secrets. The sheer scale of their precision presents one of the most stubborn puzzles. How did planners maintain perfect alignments over kilometers of rugged terrain without any form of written blueprint we can find? They achieved accuracies that would challenge modern surveyors, yet they left behind no maps or manuals, only the earth itself as their record. This points to a powerful and meticulously preserved oral tradition, a body of knowledge passed directly from master to apprentice through generations. An equally haunting mystery is the sudden abandonment of certain grids. Some sites show evidence of being fully constructed and inhabited for only a short time before being left behind, their orderly streets never worn smooth by generations of feet. Archaeologist Dr. Samir Al-Jamil reflects that we have decoded the how, but the why often eludes us, leaving room for fascinating hypotheses. Was it a rapid shift in climate that dried up a vital water source? Could it have been a social upheaval that caused a community to fracture and disperse? The grids themselves offer no clear answer. Then there are the outlier grids, those found in the most remote and inhospitable places. In the stark silence of the Atacama Desert, geometric lines stretch across barren plains where no one could have lived permanently. These sites show no traces of homes, no storage pits for food, no signs of daily life. Their existence fuels speculation that they served a purely symbolic purpose. Perhaps they were vast ceremonial stages for rituals performed only at specific times of the year, or they functioned as celestial observatories on a scale we can barely comprehend. Others may have been sophisticated navigational aids, giant signposts etched into the earth to guide trade caravans across featureless landscapes. The debates among researchers are far from settled. Were these monumental projects the result of incremental growth, with each generation adding a new section, or were they executed in a single, massive campaign driven by a powerful, centralized vision? What common trigger, whether environmental pressure or social change, ultimately led to their decline across such wide regions? These unresolved questions are not failures of science. They are the very forces that keep the field alive and dynamic, constantly inviting new discoveries. And as we look beyond a single valley or culture, an even richer pattern emerges. How do these geometric blueprints compare across the vast tapestry of different ancient societies, from the Americas to Asia and beyond. This same geometric logic for building communities appeared across the globe, a shared architectural idea blossoming in wildly different soils. In the Indus Valley, the city of Mohenjo-Daro stands as a masterpiece of early urban planning, its grid of baked brick streets laid out with a precision that included the world's first known municipal drainage system. Yet travel to the Sahel region of Africa, and you find grids constructed from sun-dried mud, their designs adapted to channel scarce rainwater and provide cooling shade in the relentless heat. Each culture used the grid as a canvas for its own values and beliefs. In ancient China, planners oriented their geometric cities according to the principles of Feng Shui, carefully positioning gates and avenues to harmonize with the flow of spiritual energy, or Kai, through the landscape. Meanwhile, across the vast Pacific, Polynesian navigators laid out coastal settlements with grids that aligned not with stars, but with the powerful ocean currents they used to voyage between islands, weaving wayfinding directly into the fabric of their villages. Comparative archaeologist Dr. Ingrid Volkova observes that the global prevalence of grids hints at a universal human impulse towards order, expressed through unique cultural lenses. This diversity is profoundly clear in the materials they chose. The Andes demanded sturdy, lasting stone. In the forests of Southeast Asia, builders worked with abundant wood and bamboo, creating geometric patterns that were just as intentional, even if they were less permanent. The very substance of their cities spoke to the environment they called home. The purpose of these grids also varied dramatically. In North America, the ancestral Pueblones designed their geometric layouts to foster intimate, communal living with shared plazas and interconnected dwellings. Contrast this with the grand grids of ancient Egypt, where the overwhelming symmetry of a worker's village near the pyramids served to reinforce the absolute power and divine authority of the pharaoh. This was not one single story, but 1,000 different answers to the same fundamental question: how do we build a place to live together? Visiting these sites today offers a tangible connection to that ancient ingenuity. To walk the same geometric streets, to feel the sun on stones placed thousands of years ago, is to understand this shared human legacy in a way no textbook can ever provide. To stand on the cracked earth of the Peruvian pampas as the low sun stretches long shadows is to feel the grid come alive around you. Your own footsteps trace the same pathways ancient planners walked, the geometric lines rising from the ground not as abstract concepts but as physical reality. The sheer scale is humbling, a vast canvas of human intention where straight avenues march toward distant mountains with a precision that photographs simply cannot convey. Guided tours in places like this or across the stark deserts of Jordan offer more than just history. They provide a tangible connection, allowing you to see how these planned communities were woven into the very fabric of the hills and valleys, their drainage channels following natural slopes and their orientations capturing the breeze. You can almost hear the echoes of a bustling marketplace in a central plaza or envision families tending their equally divided plots. Tour guide and historian Luis Gomez often notes the reaction he sees. Visitors frequently describe a profound sense of awe at the visible harmony between human creation and the natural world. It is a powerful reminder of our species' deep capacity for thoughtful, deliberate design. For the best experience, plan your visit for early morning or late afternoon, when the raking sunlight casts the geometric patterns into sharp, breathtaking relief. Afterwards, local museums provide essential context, displaying pottery, tools, and other artifacts recovered from the sites that give a human face to the grand engineering. This immersive journey, from walking the ancient streets to handling the objects used there, transforms academic curiosity into a deeply personal appreciation. Yet this very act of visitation brings a critical question to the forefront. With increasing footfall and the relentless pressures of time, how are these fragile, open-air monuments being protected for the travelers and researchers of tomorrow? These fragile lines on the Earth face a silent crisis. The very forces of progress that build our modern world now threaten to erase these ancient blueprints. Expanding cities spill their foundations over forgotten grids, while deep plowing for agriculture slices through delicate stone alignments that have survived for millennia. Climate change introduces a new and unpredictable enemy, with intense, erratic rainfall accelerating erosion in regions that have been dry for centuries. The subtle contours and rock patterns that define these sites can be wiped away by a single careless act of vandalism or a poorly planned road construction project. Conservationist Dr. Elena Tan frames the stakes with profound clarity, stating that preserving these grids is not just about saving stones, it is about honoring a legacy of human innovation that informs our future. The fight to protect them is a race against time, demanding a multi-layered strategy. The most powerful shield has been international recognition, with UNESCO designations for major grid sites. This official status does more than just raise global awareness. It unlocks critical funding streams and mandates legal protections that can halt destructive development in its tracks. Yet top-down solutions are not enough. The most effective guardians are often the local communities who live alongside this heritage. Community-led initiatives are training residents to act as site stewards, monitoring for damage and educating visitors about the profound significance of the landscape they call home. This grassroots connection transforms protection from a bureaucratic duty into a personal mission. Alongside these human efforts, technology offers a crucial safety net. Through digital archiving, every stone and pathway is meticulously recorded with high-resolution photography and 3D laser scanning. This creates an immortal digital twin of the entire site, a permanent record that will survive even if the physical one is lost. Researchers are also deploying non-invasive monitoring, using satellites and ground-based sensors to track minute changes in the soil and stone, allowing them to spot the earliest signs of degradation and intervene before it becomes irreversible. The ultimate goal is a delicate balance, preserving the site's integrity while allowing for respectful public access that fosters understanding and appreciation. With these fragile landscapes securely documented and protected, our gaze can turn forward. What future technologies waiting just over the horizon could peer even deeper into the soil and reveal the grid's most profound secrets? A new partner now joins the human archaeologist in the search for lost patterns, an artificial intelligence scanning endless satellite images with tireless digital eyes. These machine learning algorithms are trained to recognize the faintest geometric signatures of ancient city grids, spotting arrangements in the landscape that are virtually invisible to us. This technological leap could unlock thousands of unknown sites hidden beneath forests, farms, and modern cities sprawl across the globe. At the same time, field technology is advancing just as rapidly. Next-generation ground-penetrating radar and drones equipped with hyperspectral sensors can now map what lies beneath the surface in stunning detail, revealing buried walls, pathways, and plazas without ever breaking the ground. This non-invasive approach preserves these fragile sites for future generations while gathering unprecedented data. Tech archaeologist Dr. Jordan Pike envisions a near future where these tools converge, predicting that in a decade, artificial intelligence could reconstruct entire ancient urban economies just from analyzing the grid data, fundamentally rewriting our historical narratives. We are already seeing glimpses of this potential. Machine learning algorithms are not just finding grids, they are analyzing them for anomalies, identifying oddities in the layout that might point to unique social practices, like a specific block reserved for a guild of artisans or a plaza designed for a type of communal ritual we have no record of. This data is the key to a more immersive form of discovery. All this digital information is being woven into rich virtual reality simulations, allowing anyone, anywhere to strap on a headset and truly inhabit these geometric cities. You could stand in a central plaza at noon, watching the sun cast shadows exactly as it did 1,000 years ago, or walk the residential streets to understand the scale and rhythm of daily life. This makes an abstract historical concept a tangible, emotional experience, democratizing access to our shared human past. The influence of these geometric patterns, however, is not confined to labs and virtual worlds. They are echoing powerfully through our contemporary art and culture, inspiring a modern renaissance of ancient design. The same geometric impulse that shaped ancient cities now finds expression in sprawling land art. Across the Great Salt Lake, Robert Smithson's spiral jetty coils into the water, a massive earthwork that echoes the ancient dialogue between human-made geometry and the raw forces of nature. This is not mere imitation, but a modern continuation of a primal language, where lines on the land speak of order, time, and our place within the cosmos. In architecture, the grid's appeal proved equally timeless. Modernist pioneers like Le Corbusier saw in its logic the promise of a more efficient, humane urban future. His plan for Chandigarh in India was a radical application of this belief, a city divided into orderly sectors, each a self-contained neighborhood with its own markets, schools, and green spaces, all connected by a vast geometric network of roads. This was the ancient valley grid reimagined for the automobile age, an attempt to bring clarity and light to the crowded chaos of the industrial city. Cultural critic Dr. Naomi Wright observes that these ancient grids resonate because they tap into a fundamental human desire for balance and meaning in our surroundings. This deep-seated appeal ensures the grid's presence extends far beyond city plans and into the stories we tell ourselves. Films and documentaries consistently use aerial shots of geometric ruins to symbolize a lost, idealized society, their perfect lines standing in stark contrast to our own perceived disorder. This visual shorthand embeds the grid firmly in our popular consciousness as an icon of advanced, harmonious civilizations. Even the virtual worlds of video games harness this power. Titles like Civilization or Assassin's Creed build their immersive historical environments on grid-like city layouts, allowing players to navigate and manage digital realms that feel authentically ancient because they are rooted in this recognizable, orderly logic. This enduring cultural legacy, from monumental art to interactive entertainment, proves the grid is more than an architectural relic. It is a persistent archetype, a tool we return to again and again to explore ideas of community, control, and our relationship with the environment. But as our fascination with these sites grows, so does our responsibility toward them. What ethical obligations must we balance when the drive for knowledge meets the need for preservation? The land remembers its stories, and so do the people whose ancestors first drew these geometric lines. Many of these profound sites rest on the ancestral lands of indigenous communities, whose living traditions hold vital keys to understanding the grid's true purpose. This reality demands a fundamental shift in how we approach this heritage, moving from a model of extraction to one of genuine partnership. Research must be conducted with the free, prior, and informed consent of these communities, honoring their deep connection to the land and treating their oral histories and traditional knowledge as a form of intellectual property. Ethicist Dr. Carlos Mendez urges us to move from extraction to partnership, ensuring that these stories are told with and by descendant communities. This collaborative spirit is already bearing fruit in remarkable ways. In the American Southwest, for instance, co-management agreements now see tribal members leading excavations and interpreting findings, bringing a cultural context to the geometric patterns that outside researchers might otherwise miss entirely. This approach directly addresses long-standing issues like the repatriation of artifacts taken from these lands, ensuring that cultural treasures are returned to their rightful stewards. It also means sharing the benefits derived from tourism and media, so that local communities are empowered as guardians of their own heritage rather than being sidelined by it. A core principle of this ethical framework is the preferential use of non-invasive research methods. Technologies like LIDAR and ground-penetrating radar allow us to map entire cities without ever disturbing the soil, a crucial consideration for sites that may also be sacred grounds or resting places. This respectful methodology does more than just avoid harm. It actively enriches the research, creating a more complete and nuanced picture of the past by weaving scientific data together with enduring cultural wisdom. This is not just about fostering justice, it is about fostering better science, and this leads to an exciting possibility for anyone captivated by these ancient patterns. You do not need a doctorate to contribute to this unfolding story. A growing movement of citizen science invites amateur enthusiasts to play a direct role in grid studies from their own homes. Your own computer screen can become a window to a lost world. Online platforms like Zooniverse connect the curiosity of global volunteers with the vast libraries of satellite imagery that archaeologists simply cannot analyze alone. You might be shown a satellite photo of a remote valley and asked to scan for subtle straight lines, geometric shadows, or unusual patterns in the vegetation. Every click, every flagged anomaly contributes to a massive crowdsourced data set that helps professionals pinpoint where to focus their ground-based research. This collective effort has already yielded tangible results, with amateur enthusiasts helping to identify potential grid sites in regions from the Middle East to South America that were completely off the academic radar. For those who yearn for a more tactile connection, local fieldwork opportunities provide a way to get your hands dirty in the best possible way. University-led projects and cultural organizations often welcome volunteers for surface surveys, where you walk carefully spaced transects, recording any pottery shards or stone tools visible on the ground. Other programs train participants in the careful art of site documentation, using photography and simple mapping to create a permanent record of visible grid features. Archaeologist Dr. Fiona Lee affirms this, stating that every pair of eyes helps. Public engagement has already led to breakthroughs in mapping unknown grids. You do not need a formal degree to begin contributing. Start by learning the basics of Free Geographic Information Systems software, or GIS, to understand how landscapes are digitally analyzed. Joining online forums and social media groups dedicated to ancient mysteries can connect you with a community of fellow enthusiasts and alert you to new research or volunteer opportunities. Even your vacation photos can become valuable scientific data. When traveling, amateur photographers can capture high-resolution images of known grid sites from different angles and at various times of day. These photographs, especially those taken during the golden hours of sunrise and sunset when shadows are long, can reveal surface details that might be missed by official surveys. Submitting these images to digital archives managed by museums or universities directly aids in the ongoing monitoring and preservation of these fragile sites. This growing collective effort does more than just accumulate data. It actively democratizes the study of history, transforming it from a distant academic field into a living, collaborative pursuit. It invites everyone to become a keeper of these ancient patterns. This brings us to a final, reflective question, one that ties all these threads together. What is the ultimate, overarching legacy of these geometric cities, and what do their silent, orderly streets continue to whisper to us about the trajectory of human progress? Those orderly streets were humanity's first great experiment in applied reason. Long before the scientific method was formally defined, the creators of the valley grids were already testing a powerful hypothesis that mathematical order could be used to build a better, more stable society. This represents a monumental leap in abstract thinking, the ability to envision a complex geometric pattern and then translate that vision into a physical reality that shaped every aspect of daily life. They were not just building houses, they were building a system, applying principles of geometry and arithmetic to the fundamental challenges of social organization, resource distribution, and environmental harmony. This foundational breakthrough paved the intellectual runway for countless later innovations, from the codified laws of ancient empires to the structured logic of modern engineering and urban planning. These grids demonstrate a profound capacity for long-term, intergenerational planning, a quality we are urgently relearning today as we face global challenges like rapid urbanization and climate sustainability. Historian Dr. Paul Green summarizes this perfectly, noting that the valley grids are not relics but milestones in our journey toward mastering our world through reason and cooperation. Their influence is a quiet undercurrent in our modern world. It echoes in the predictable street grids of New York and Barcelona, in the logical layouts of our digital interfaces, and even in the very idea of zoning and public land use. Centuries later, Enlightenment thinkers who had no knowledge of these specific sites arrived at a strikingly similar conclusion. Philosophers and architects of that era looked to geometry as the ultimate tool for designing ideal, rational societies, believing that orderly spaces would cultivate orderly, virtuous citizens. The geometric cities of the past were a proof of concept, a testament to a shared human heritage of innovation that transcends culture and epoch. This legacy culminates in a broader, more humbling understanding of human progress. Our greatest advancements have never been solely about new tools, but about new ways of thinking, about our enduring impulse to impose harmony on chaos and to build a future worthy of the generations to come. The legacy of the valley grids is a testament to early human genius, a story written not on paper but across the very skin of the earth. These ancient planners transformed barren lands into thriving, organized communities that endured for countless generations, revealing a mastery of urban design that forever reshapes our understanding of the past. We have walked their celestial avenues and traced their equitable plots, uncovering a society that wove astronomy, social harmony, and environmental wisdom into a single, geometric fabric. This journey challenges our most basic assumptions about ancient capabilities, proving that long before our modern tools, humanity possessed a profound capacity for foresight and cooperative creation. Let this exploration be more than a history lesson. Let it be an invitation. Look closer at the patterns in your own environment, at the layout of your own city streets, or the design of your local park. Consider how the ancient wisdom of working with the land, of fostering community through thoughtful design, might illuminate a path toward more sustainable and harmonious future cities. I would love to hear which of these mysteries resonated most with you. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you are eager for more deep dives into history's hidden chapters, subscribing ensures you will not miss them. Together, we keep the past alive, learning from those who planned not just for themselves but for the ages.